Hey guys, it's a beautiful early Sunday morning. Seems like the perfect time to read chapter 8. So, here we go. Chapter 8 The Denial of Responsibility. The denial of responsibility is the most common mental illness that each of us will experience throughout our lives. This is not really an illness at all. This mental illness or coping mechanism might be more correctly categorized as an attempted personal solution to a perceived difficulty. It is the root cause of all the more severe mental illnesses that are known, as well as many physical and emotional problems. To speak about the denial of responsibility and the reasons that human beings employ this coping mechanism, it is necessary to discuss how an individual's sense of responsibility develops. As in all theories of human development, the first years of an individual's life are extremely important. The first years of any individual's life create the foundation upon which one's sense of responsibility is built. However, there is a period in every individual's life which will play an even more important and influential role in one's overall health, happiness, and success later on in life. In the earliest years of an individual's life, there is so much new information being gathered and processed that it proves almost impossible for an individual to do little more than react to any stimuli that is presented within any one situation. For the first year of an individual's life, every new child is basically a receptor of the world around them. They watch and learn. However, this is an extremely important time because between the age of 1 and 2, an individual begins to realize that they have the power to manipulate the situation around them. The way we learn to manipulate situations later in life are formed very early within this period of our lives for most of us. With this newfound realization, the exercise of a developing sense of responsibility begins. It does not take long for an individual to learn that deflecting responsibility or simply denying responsibility will often work in their favor. Anyone who has witnessed a toddler break a toy right in front of them and then deny responsibility with a straight face and almost pleading eyes as to their complete innocence is familiar with human beings at a very young age ability to deny responsibility. Although the desire to take responsibility for our lives is innate within all of us, we must be taught how to fulfill this desire. As human beings, because we are both weak and flawed, it is also innate within each of us to try and pursue the path that we perceive to have the least resistance. Even as a 2-year-old, we are able to recognize that we will get into less trouble if we can somehow avoid responsibility for breaking the toy. If we are never taught the reasons as to why it might be preferable to assume responsibility for breaking the toy, we will almost always consider the avoidance of responsibility a viable, if not preferable, option, not only for a broken toy, but for all the situations in which we perceive it will be easier for us if we deny responsibility for our actions. Although it is imperative to accept responsibility for our thoughts and actions in order to become the highest functioning individual that is within each of us, it is human nature to also take the path of least resistance. Unfortunately, the path of least resistance does not often correlate with the path that leads to assuming responsibility. One's own health, happiness, and success in life will always be a struggle. We cannot learn to assume responsibility for our own lives without the help and example of others or the work and dedication of ourselves. Our own basic human nature to take the path of least resistance will almost always prove more appealing than taking responsibility if we are not taught or somehow learn by our own actions and fully understand the reasons as to why taking responsibility will be beneficial and healthy for us as individuals. In the same way that it will prove difficult to develop a strong work ethic, learn to play golf, or be a good student without examples from which to learn, it will also prove difficult to learn to take responsibility. The pursuit of responsibility is the ultimate force behind all our thoughts and actions as human beings. We desire and need, in order to be healthy and successful, to live a good life for which we can assume responsibility. However, a good life is dependent upon each of us as individuals and is a very subjective term that incorporates so many different variables. We choose our actions based on our own thoughts and influences from the society in which we live. We need to learn either from the examples of others or from the fruits of our own efforts, and ultimately practice effectively how to accept responsibility. To accept responsibility for our lives requires skills and abilities that need to be learned and constantly developed. If we encounter a situation in which we do not have the requisite skills and abilities by which to assume responsibility, it is basic human nature that we will try to deny our own personal responsibility. That's it. That's an important chapter. There's a lot there. But yeah, I hope you're good. Be kind. Do some good things. Make this world a better place. God bless, guys. See you in the next one.